Reawakening.
If in dreamland the ocean represents life, then in your dreams the way you navigate the ocean ought to be telling you something about your life. So says our resident dream expert and spiritual life coach, Yvonne Ryba. In this episode of Reawakening, Yvonne goes back to her dream journals in the mid-1980s when she was a new transplant from Britain living in the Houston area and seeking a like-minded community of metaphysical believers. She wasn't necessarily finding that, and this dream reflects her journey. Then she compares and contrasts a dream from a client of hers in the late 90s. This dreamer, let's just say, wasn't quite as ready and willing to swim in the deep end as Yvonne was 15 years prior. Yvonne's dream interpretations and spiritual life advice are anything but shallow, so check out her website, YvonneRyba.com. That's YvonneRyba.com. And now let's check in with her again and get some of that wisdom. Hello again, Yvonne. How are you?
Hey there, Chris. Well, I'm doing fine, thank you.
Fantastic. So, we are open to any great dreams from your vault. I know we've talked in the past about universal symbols, water. I mentioned that to you. Do you have anything in that realm?
Yes, I do, and I looked up. Yes, you're right, the vault. I have books from the 70s, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had one that I had dreamt in 1984. At which point, March 84, we had been here about a year and 3 months. Mm-hmm. And then I found another dream that a friend had in the mid-90s. So I thought we'd put those two together and contrast them, as a matter of fact, and see what you think.
Fantastic.
Okay, good. So I'll give you mine first.
Great.
It wasn't a very long dream. I was in a hotel which was built by the seashore, and it was overlooking a harbor and what I have put down as a swimming bay. In other words, the bay was shallow enough for people to go in, swim and play and do that kind of thing.
Sure.
At the beginning of the dream, I can't remember, but I remember looking out through the window in the hotel and seeing people swimming and throwing balls about in the sea just outside of the window. So they were playing that kind of volleyball type thing. Mm-hmm. So the water wasn't very deep at that point. I thought they were slightly threatening to me. And then I sat in a chair or a seat without legs and flew across the water over their heads.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty good, huh? Kind of like a magic carpet, only I had a chair.
Right.
I want to be comfortable. I'm not getting on a carpet and kneeling. So then they wanted me to catch the ball, but I felt it childish and ignored them. And I was also worried, too. I was a little bit sort of, anxious about them. The sea was the most beautiful color. It was an aquamarine blue. And I remember thinking how absolutely beautiful it was, even after I woke up. In fact, I hope to see it again in my dreams. It was so lovely. And that was the dream. Now, the dream has several universal symbols in it that most or everyone at some point has dreamt. The ocean, playing ball, and flying. And, of course, feelings matter very, very much in a dream. And how you feel when you wake up is important and gives you a clue as to what the message of the dream is.
Okay.
Now, when I woke up, my big thing was how beautiful the sea was. It was absolutely beautiful. And that the sea, the ocean, represents spiritual life. It represents life in general as well. You know, we come from the ocean, as it were, in a way. It's got all the potential that life has. It can be calm, it can be stormy, waves breaking,
Sure.
rhythm of life, all that kind of thing. It's very, very symbolic for us in our dreams to use it for life. But it's also got a very strong spiritual content because water represents spirit as well. So here I am, 1 year, 3 months into living in a strange new country, in Texas, in Houston.
From England.
Yeah, from England. Total different culture. At that time, Houston was going through a downward slide. It had been doing very well until like the 82, 83. And then it started going down. So it was a pretty anxious time, especially for people who were just starting out business there.
Uh-huh.
And we had moved house. We'd been in a rental house that was a track house that just everybody had the same kind of house. And we found something a little bit more to our taste. 2-story, because we'd come from 2 stories. You know, in England, it's not normal to have a very large house on one level. We're short of space, so most of us have stairs that we have to climb. So we found a house with stairs, and we had the family come over and stay and that kind of thing. But I remember hadn't quite assimilated into it all yet, and hadn't found any metaphysical friends at that point. Really focused on getting my husband's business going, and I was feeling a little bit out of it.
So friends with your common spiritual philosophies and beliefs, Yeah.
In fact, I was pretty shocked to find that what I believed, most people looked on me as a heathenish or influenced by the devil kind of thing, that sort of feeling.
I'm from Oklahoma, and I remember the 70s and 80s, Yeah,
right. So here I am in a hotel. Okay, a hotel is a transitory place where you just come for a short time. So in my dream, I am aware that where we're living is not going to be forever. And it wasn't. We were looking for another place closer into the city at the time. And that was a good move, by the way, because I did meet people then that were like-minded. Anyway, so I'm in the hotel. I'm looking out at the window. And here I'm feeling anxious about all these people who are all playing around in the ocean, floating around, playing ball, swimming, being happy, connecting with each other. But remember that they have to be in the shallow part of the bay here. They're not way out there. And then the next thing is I'm on this chair and flying over the top of their heads.
Aha, magic woman.
A magic trick.
Uh-huh.
Now that's a great symbol. Flying is, overcoming your problems, reaching into a spiritual area, raising yourself up, all those kind of feelings. And they said, come and play ball. And there's a pun, right? Play ball with us, be like us, come and play, join in.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I felt they were a bit childish, but they were also a bit threatening. Well, they certainly were, because I had some strange conversations with people. If I mentioned that, I had psychic experiences or anything like that, it was like, oh, my goodness,
Sure.
But once you get into a center of a town, you tend to meet the more cosmopolitan types, and that's what happened to us. Anyway, so here I am over this beautiful ocean. Life is beautiful. That's what the dream was saying. Mm-hmm. Life is absolutely beautiful, and it always is. You don't have to look at what other people are doing or think about how they feel. It's what it is to you and what you're going to do. So it was telling me that there is a whole deeper, not playing around in the shallow end, but a whole deeper meaning here, and that there was a huge opportunity.
So you had an expansive perspective beyond that immediate little swimming harbor area. You were able to sort of transcend that immediate surrounding.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes, and looking back on it now, I can see even more how that was telling me. It's okay if these people want to play in the shallow part and all be together and enjoy themselves. That's their way. They want to do that. You don't have to do that. It's not your scene. Let's go further out. Let's see how beautiful life is. Something is showing up here. And it did. It did show up for me. It took a little while. It was later that year. We moved again. Mm-hmm. And we moved because of me meeting somebody who wanted to rent their house closer into town. It was in a really nice area. And we were there for quite a few years until we moved again in 89 to California. And I met a lot of people then who were kind of metaphysical.
Perfect.
But, lots and lots of interesting people from that, some of whom are still friends, and we still talk about those days today.
So your dream encouraged you.
Oh, yeah. I knew that it's going to be wonderful. Look how beautiful this ocean is. This is going to be the thing to remember.
Great. So a short, simple little dream that sometimes people think, oh, that was just a random image or sort of vignette, can have really potent universal symbols that are giving you a little message about what's going on in your life and sort of how to look beyond the immediate.
That's right.
I like that. And then you said a friend of yours had a water dream years later?
Well, and strangely enough, the people that I met later that year and into the next year, she was one of them. And when we met, one of the first things she said to me was something about, I love your energy or something, which, if you say that to some people, they'd think you're nuts.
Especially in the 80s or 90s.
Yes, right. And I met this woman who is still a good friend. We talked recently. And this was a dream of hers, but this came along much later. She traveled around. She had relationships with different men. She'd been married, I can't remember, it was 4 times, something like that. the relationships also ended badly. And she had this dream, okay, so, and it also involved the ocean.
Okay.
So she dreamt that she was coming down to a harbor with boats that were moored. It was pretty full, lots of people there, a bit like my dream. Some of them were going out fishing, and some were, enjoying themselves and having picnics on the deck and all that kind of thing. And she was looking for her boat, and somehow it disappeared. And then she found herself out on the water skiing behind a speedboat. And she had a great time skiing, but there were people, she had to keep avoiding hitting anybody, and she was wishing that they would all clear out of the way. But she said, I felt like it was great, speeding along at the top, behind this boat and enjoying herself. And she woke up, but she felt like there was something else about this dream, that it wasn't all wonderful.
Unsettling.
That's right. Very good word. Very good. And so she phoned me up knowing that I had done the dream thing for many years and told me it. And she said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, you felt like there was something not quite right, but on the whole, the dream seems to be fine. However, this is what I get from it. Of course, I knew her. And it helps, you see, as well, to get perspective on a thing. But I would have still said this even if she'd been a stranger. I said, well, we all know that the ocean represents our lives, of what's going on in our life. And I said, yours is crowded with people enjoying themselves and doing things, although they're pretty well ignoring you, some of them. And you have to maneuver around them, okay, which she wasn't very happy with her job at this point in her life. In fact, she did change that completely later on. I said, so now you find yourself skiing behind the speedboat. You're going fast. You kind of have to watch yourself. You're not going to run into something. So there's a bit of a dangerous feeling to this going too fast. Mm-hmm. And I said, to me, you're just skimming along on the top of life.
Ah.
You're skimming along and going too fast and enjoying it, but where are you going? And you have to be careful that you don't hit something and end up in the water. So she was thinking about this, and she said, well, it felt okay, but, I know there's something going on there that I can't put my finger on. And I said, well, that's what it is. I said, let's face it, you're enjoying life, you're partying a lot, you have different relationships. Some of these men that had come up and disappeared again, all of them turned out to be abusive in one way or another. She had two that were alcoholics who were great to begin with, but then the alcoholism took over and they became abusive. Ah. Another one who took all her money, another one who beat her up. I mean, it was just like they were all abusive in some way or another.
So the boat may have been these men in her life.
Yeah, that's right. Taking it too fast and not paying attention to what was going on, with a bit of fear that, we're going to come a cropper here somewhere. We're going to go tip over. We have to be careful. So I said to her, the last thing I said was, you need to get deeper into this. You're not even swimming in the ocean.
Right.
You're on the top of it. I said, you're skimming along on the surface of life.
Of life.
Yes, and you need to get deeper into it to have a satisfying relationship. And although she did evolve, she's a very metaphysical woman, that particular lesson took a lot of learning and continued for years with these different relationships until eventually she said to me, I'm giving up on men.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, I'm happy with my family who are grown up, married, have children.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on what I'm doing and enjoy it.
Good.
That was how she eventually ended up with that problem.
Right.
And that's a good way to go, as a matter of fact. So those were the two. Now, I looked up, see what it said about the ocean in the Dream book, a dream symbol dictionary that Betty Bethard wrote, which I've talked about before. And the ocean is the sea of life, enormous emotional energy to be respected and used wisely, the source of your life force. And then, for example, if you're lost at sea, you're overwhelmed by emotions and so on. The ocean, like I said, is like life, and it can be placid and calm, it can be rhythmic, it can be turbulent, and it can be destructive. So it's where you are. So that was the other dream, and it was interesting how the two dreams about the ocean did contrast, but it all depends on how you feel when you wake up with these dreams.
That's right. So note the feeling you wake up with. Is it one of ease? Is it one of unease? The core of the message lay there, right?
Yeah.
With the emotion.
Our dreams are coming from our subconscious, and they use all this symbolism, like the dream about playing ball, okay? You want to play ball with us? Or I'm not going to play ball with you. You see, that kind of play on words.
Sure.
So, yes, when you wake up, the subconscious has left the message, but it'll also have left the feeling, and you have to say, well, that felt a bit odd, although the dream seemed okay. What's the meaning behind it? And then you have to start working it out. People say, why can't we have a dream that just gives us a clear message?
Uh-huh.
Well, we have lost the ability to read symbols because we become very civilized and scientifically minded and so on. Thousands of years ago, everybody had a pretty clear idea of what this meant, you know. Now, the subconscious has not got any way of explaining things but through symbols. It operates that way. The conscious mind talks in words and has formulas and reasoning and so on, but the subconscious deals with the emotions and with symbols. So you have to go back and figure that one out. And everybody has symbols for something that nobody else has.
Yes, this is true. And specific to your circumstances in life,
that's right.
You have to kind of connect the dots there, I think.
Yes, you do.
So get a good dream guide book, listen to your emotion when you wake up, journal your dreams, and then kind of connect the dots about your circumstances in life, maybe your patterns in life, to see if the message is telling you something about how to steer your course in life differently, get a little deeper.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, the water dreams are always some of my favorites, so I appreciate you diving into those.
Well, I have lots of different ones about the ocean, but those two I thought were the clear ones to give a black and white kind of contrast to it.
Yep.
As well.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you again sharing something from your own journals and from those of your friends and clients, and we'll look forward to chatting again with you in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye for now.
Reawakening with Chris Mann and Yvonne Ryba is a Rising Action Media production. Copyright 2015 by Chris Mann.